Hello, friends, and welcome to the PrepWell podcast. I'm your host, Phil Black. And if you have an 8th, 9th, or 10th grader with big aspirations, like the Ivy League, or military service academies like West Point, ROTC, or athletic scholarships, boom, you've come to the right place. My specialty, my superpower, if you will, is preparing families for these competitive programs. I'll teach you what your child should do, when they should do it, and how you can help. So stick around and prepare to out-prepare. Hello, friends, and welcome to the PrepWell podcast. In today's episode, I want to speak to all the students who are listening out there, whether you're in 7th grade, 8th grade, 9th, 10th, 11th, whether you're a PrepWeller or a prospective PrepWeller, whether you aspire to go to an Ivy League school or your local state school or one of the military academies, or if you're an athlete hoping to use your sport as leverage to get into college. Today, I want to speak directly to you because there are a lot of wild things going on out there in the world right now. We've got COVID-19 still kicking around, business shutdowns, school shutdowns, protests, months and months of looting and rioting in the streets, family members losing their jobs, businesses, their purpose, in some cases their lives. We've got fires burning on the West Coast, a contentious presidential election in a few weeks. Many students are adjusting to a new way of learning and interacting with teachers and fellow students online. We've got colleges changing their admissions policies seemingly every other week. And none of these things are in our control, at least not in any direct way. And that can feel overwhelming. But today, I'd like to suggest that we focus less on what we can't control and start to pay closer attention to what we can control, because we actually have quite a few things that we can control, even if we're quarantined. And when we do those things consistently and for the right reasons, a lot of good can come out of it. And those things I'm referring to are not big things. They're not earth-shattering things, out-of-reach abstract things. They're small things, practical things, done consistently. They're habits. Unfortunately, if you're not aware of what those things are, or you don't believe that doing those things will supercharge your life, or if you're a procrastinator, you will not reap the rewards of what those small things can bring you. And just like the world of investing money, small behavior changes now, meaning early in your high school career, 9th and 10th grade, will have compounding benefits later on. You've probably heard the stories that say if you religiously put away and invest 10% of your earnings every year from age 18 to 40 and did nothing else but let that money grow, you would be a millionaire by age 40. It's almost guaranteed, depending on a few assumptions. But since most of you don't have jobs yet and aren't making money on a consistent basis and probably don't have a great appreciation for the magic of compounding interest yet, I wanted to think of another example of how and why making small adjustments to your behavior early and often can, number one, help you avoid disaster, and on a positive note, number two, help you reach your most ambitious goals. And as I was thinking about this, the story of the Titanic came to mind. Most of you know the story of the Titanic, even if it's from the movie. This was this massive luxury steamship that sideswiped an iceberg on its way from England to New York in the early 1900s and sank and killed over 1,500 passengers. I want you to think of your life as if you're starting a journey on the Titanic, steaming through high school. And if you aren't making the right small incremental decisions, the 1% adjustments on a daily and weekly basis, whether it's with schoolwork or nutrition or reading or studying for exams or exercise, you're leaving yourself susceptible to a crash. What do I mean by that? Well, if you aren't paying attention to the things that are in your control right now, and you aren't trying to improve and learn and get better, and you're just going with the flow, by the time you get to senior year, you could be so far along a path that even if you see the iceberg ahead, it's too late to start making adjustments. The adjustments wouldn't be enough. Just like when the spotter on the Titanic with the binoculars, looking through the fog, finally seeing the iceberg ahead and sounding the alarms, it was too late. They didn't have enough time to turn out of its way. Large steamships are so big that they take a long time to respond to any changes. They simply couldn't change course fast enough, and they plowed right into the iceberg. Had they made the appropriate adjustments early on and consistently, they would have never crossed paths with that iceberg. Now, in this analogy, what does the iceberg represent in your life? There could be several potential icebergs that you'll want to avoid as you make your way through high school. The biggest iceberg that I see in my work as a college admissions counselor and parent is when students wake up in the middle of junior year, or even worse, the beginning of senior year, and they look through the binoculars and they see the college application process dead ahead, and they're not prepared. Why? Because by then your ship is already steaming in a certain direction, and to try to make course corrections is a fool's errand. It's too late. Your body of work has already been established. At least 70 to 80% of it, if not more. Your class selection, your grades, what you did over the summers, what jobs you've had or haven't had, what extracurriculars you've done, what leadership positions you've held, relationships you've built, standardized tests you've taken or not taken. It takes too long to get back on course. Whichever way you are steaming is where you're headed, good or bad or in between. And if that's not where you want to go, then you have a problem. So how do you avoid this fate, the fate of the Titanic? Well, as we like to say, it's simple, but not easy. As you make your way through 8th, 9th, and 10th grade, especially if you have big ambitions, you have to make a concerted effort to make the 1% changes, these incremental adjustments that will get you where you want to go over the long term. And by the way, it really helps if you know what you're shooting for in the long term. Inside PrepWell Academy, we call this your vision. To sustain this effort, this long-term habit-building effort, it helps to have a goal, an ambition, or a vision for what you want. Because there will be days where you don't want to do many of these things, and it will take discipline to do them. I've coined the term viscipline, a combination of vision and discipline. They work hand in hand. The stronger and the clearer your vision, the easier it will be to maintain your discipline because you know why you're doing what you're doing. And we spend significant time inside PrepWell Academy helping you to think about your vision, your interests, your passions, what you want your life to look like in a few years. And yes, we start this practice in 9th and 10th grade when it matters most. If you only start thinking about what you want to do with your life and where you want to go in 12th grade, the ship has already committed to a certain path. It's important to start early. And there are several activities and exercises that we do inside PrepWell Academy that help you come up with a vision. I won't take the time to go through them all here. Many of you PrepWellers out there know what I mean. And that vision, by the way, will be different for everyone. Some students have a very specific and clear vision very early. Great. Other students have a less clear vision that develops over time. I would take a less clear vision over no vision at all day long, because at least it's a start. And as you move through school and learn new things and get exposed to different experiences, this vision may start to come into focus. And that's the goal. And by the way, the vision does not have to be tied to a specific college. Like, I'm a freshman and I know I want to go to MIT. Not that there's anything wrong with that. In many cases, specificity is good, but you shouldn't feel pressured to have a specific vision by any particular date or a specific college that you want to go to by a particular date. The very idea that you're thinking about your future and a vision for your future is the goal. So what are these small, incremental, 1% behaviors that I speak of? The behaviors that, if you start them as a 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th grader, and they're tied to a vision, and done consistently will put you on the right path. I'm glad you asked. They are things like reading for 30 minutes a day, spending 30 minutes a day in Khan Academy during the summer, turning your phone off during homework and Zoom calls, turning your camera on during Zoom calls, creating an organized and clean study environment, engaging with other students during online breakout sessions, building relationships with your teachers and your guidance counselor, working on the hardest homework first instead of last, getting to bed early, not falling asleep while in bed scrolling through your phone, establishing friends that share your values and motivations, responding to emails from adults in a timely fashion, checking email daily, writing emails and texts to adults with appropriate grammar, working on homework over the weekend to lighten the load during the week, taking notes during class or when talking to an adult or a mentor or a coach, taking time to reflect on what your passions and interests are, watching a TED Talk video, listening to a podcast in an area of interest of yours, keeping your eyes open for leadership opportunities and seizing them, beginning a writing assignment days before it's due, thinking about challenging questions before Googling them. If you're an athlete, taking video footage of yourself to make a highlight reel, yes, in 9th and 10th grade. If you're an aspiring military officer, seeking out leadership opportunities. If you have specific colleges in mind that you love to attend down the road, follow them on Instagram and TikTok. Staying up to date on your PrepWell videos and engaging in the lessons. And the list goes on and on and on. And if you rewind this podcast and go back through this list methodically, nothing here is rocket science. These are small, very doable actions that, when started early enough and strung together over time, have amazing results. This insight is one of the reasons I started PrepWell Academy. Because people would ask me all the time, Phil, how have you been able to pull all these things off? You went to Yale and Harvard Business School. You were a Navy SEAL. You've been on Shark Tank twice. You worked for Goldman Sachs. You're a firefighter. What's the magic formula? Do you have an unusually high IQ? Or physical gifts? Or a well-connected family? And the answer is always no, no, and no. I don't have any of those things, not even close. I just had a vision and did these small things early and often enough to put me in a position to compete and succeed. And you can do the same. My ultimate hope is that there will come a time when you are convinced that this formula works, and you will continue to use the formula over and over again for everything that you do. The formula being vision plus discipline equals success. And when you prove this to yourself for the first time and eat from its fruits and realize how much potential you have, you will be unstoppable because you know the formula and you've implemented it yourself and you know of its power. I know the formula. I've applied it dozens of times, often in the most challenging and most selective programs in the world. And it works, and it will continue to work forever. My hope is that I can convince you to take the first step in the journey, to build the vision that will unlock the discipline to get you over the hump. And I'll warn you, it's not going to happen overnight. And that's why many teens fail. They want to see results immediately. They want to scroll to the end of the story now. And they bail out too early. Unfortunately, success and results don't happen overnight, or in a few days, or even a few weeks. You have to put in the time, the work, the effort to get the payoff. And that makes it all the more sweet when it does happen. But the steps to get there are not big. They are small. They are small and early and directed toward a vision, whatever that vision may be. The first step on this journey, especially as it relates to the college admissions process, is to enroll and engage in PrepWell Academy, because this is what PrepWell Academy does. This is why it was created. It prompts you every week to think about what you should be doing and thinking about. It provides the steps, the small steps, the doable steps that over time will translate into massive success if you do them. So for all of you out there listening who are not yet enrolled, please do so that you can begin to learn the small 1% behaviors that will move your ship in the right direction. For all of you PrepWellers out there, listening to and engaging with your weekly lessons is exactly one of these small disciplines that I'm talking about. Is it easy to procrastinate and skip a few weeks and put it off? Yes, of course. And when you do, your ship continues on its direct path to the iceberg. Do the small things now. Make the adjustments now. Learn about yourself now. Think about the future now. Execute the plan now. And there will be no iceberg later. Instead, your ship will enjoy, as we say in the Navy, fair winds and following seas. That's all I've got for you today, folks. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for the support. If you know a parent with an 8th grader, 9th grader, 10th grader, 11th grader that you think might find this helpful, please share the episode with them. You can do that by finding the small box with the tiny arrow pointing up. That's the share button. Click that button, text your friends the link to this episode with a little note from you recommending that they give it a listen. Of course, if you have questions, comments, or an idea for an upcoming episode, please reach out to me by email. You can DM me on Instagram, check out our blog, Facebook page, connect with me on LinkedIn. I would love to hear from you. Until next week, goodbye, good luck, and never stop preparing. This podcast is brought to you by PrepWell Academy. PrepWell Academy is my one-of-a-kind online mentoring program that delivers to your 9th or 10th grader a short, highly relevant video from me every week, every Sunday in fact, where I give them a heads up about what they should be thinking about to stay ahead of the game. To get these valuable lessons into your child's hands, please head over to PrepWellAcademy.com and enroll your child today.